Welcome to the Not Old Better Show, the show covering all things health, wellness, culture, and more. The show for all of us who aren't old, we're better. Each week, we'll interview superstars, experts, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, all related to this wonderful experience of getting better, not older. Now, here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
Welcome to the Not Old Better Show on radio and podcast. I'm your host, Paul Vogelzang, and we are broadcasting just outside of Washington, D.C., and today we're listening to a little swing music, which is going to be entirely appropriate. So let me just assure you right off the bat, today's episode is a two-fer. That's always twice as nice. So whether you're a 60s history buff and enthusiast of that time and culture like me, or simply someone who loves great TV shows and great books when combined correctly, you've tuned in at the perfect time. Today we're diving into the new Apple TV Plus series Lessons in Chemistry, a captivating adaptation of Bonnie Garmus's popular novel of the same name, Lessons in Chemistry. The TV show stars Brie Larson as Elizabeth Zott. The show's a visual and thematic masterpiece, in my opinion, that tackles the complex societal issues of the time. I got a chance to view the first in the series. It's going to air on the 13th on Apple TV Plus. The series is set in the early 1950s and 60s, and Lessons in Chemistry follows Elizabeth Zott, who's played by Brie Larson, whose dream of being a scientist is put on hold in a patriarchal society. When Elizabeth finds herself fired from her lab job, she accepts a job as a host on a TV cooking show of all things and sets out to teach the nation of overlooked housewives and the men who are suddenly listening to a lot more than just recipes. Let's hear the trailer for Lessons in Chemistry from Apple TV Plus. The program is premiering on October 13th.
In life, discoveries usually lead to more questions. The only constant variable is the unexpected. We can't control it. It's only when you look backwards that you see how it was all connected. Let's begin, shall we?
That's perfect.
I like to cook. It's just chemistry.
You're on the verge of a major scientific breakthrough.
This institution has a reputation based on the world-class scientists, not the theories of a pretty lab tech.
We have rules.
You're firing me.
Just stop your crying, it's a sign of the times.
I would like to offer you a job as the host of our cooking show.
Are you concussed?
No. You are poised to become a TV star.
Welcome to the final show.
We're live in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome, viewers. This is Supper at 6.
We never learned before. Why are we always stuck in
Do I need a catchphrase?
Don't overthink it.
Never understood what that meant.
I stand proudly with the overlooked workhorse of the kitchen, women, and baked potatoes.
What the?
Just stop your crying half the time of your life.
You've got something almost no one has.
Breaking through the atmosphere.
A platform.
Things are pretty.
What you say matters.
Politics don't belong in the kitchen. A man wants his wife to make him a drink after a long day at work.
Why do you assume that his day was longer than hers? Why don't you make them drink?
Just stop your crying, it's a sign of the times.
You are what I treasure most in this world. Not because you are pretty, not because you are smart, but because you love me and I love you.
We got to.
I can do it. You think you can't do it, and you do it anyway.
Your ability to change everything starts here. Children's at the table. Your mother needs a moment to herself.
And now let's hear just a brief clip from the star, Brie Larson, about Lessons in Chemistry, what it meant to be the character, and what it meant for Brie Larson to serve as executive producer of the series.
The title kind of says it all. Lessons in chemistry. It's about science and chemistry, but it's also about that inexplicable connection of chemistry you can have when you're falling in love. It's also about the way that life can surprise you. It's been a real pleasure to be her more than I've been myself for the last 4 months. To have a voice outside of just showing up, knowing my lines. I love the teamwork of the job.
Children's at the table. Your mother needs a moment to herself.
That, of course, was Brie Larson, the star of Lessons in Chemistry from Apple TV+. I love that one line. Children, set the table. Your mother needs a moment to herself. Yeah, we've heard that around our family, too, over a couple of generations. I love this show. I love the book because it's all about resilience. It's about independence. It's about overcoming challenges. That's what Elizabeth Zott is all about, too. You know, if you love the 60s, the 50s, like me, you remember it well. I think you will love the book and the new Apple TV show, Lessons in Chemistry. The series premieres October 13, and here's why I think it's worth your time. The show visually is just done masterfully. The show's art direction is literally a feast for your eyes. It just captures the mid-century aesthetic with just great finesse. The cast is amazing. Brie Larson leads a talented ensemble that brings depth and nuance to the storyline itself. I think the story also has wonderful social commentary. The series addresses a range of issues from gender discrimination to racial injustice, albeit from varying degrees of complexity. There's great moral clarity, too. The show has a moral compass that is really its strength because it offers this very clear-cut perspective on right and wrong. There's a wonderful element of motherhood and femininity. The series offers kind of a cliched view of motherhood, but it's really very touching and sweet. Some viewers may find that a little bit too trachely and overly sweet, but I thought it was fantastic. The book I just enjoyed immensely, and as many of you know who listen to the show here regularly, I love to read, and I read a lot for my work. This was one of the books that I read just for pure fun and joy. It really does capture the time period of the 50s and the 60s so well. I thought it really gave exceptional women a chance to be who they are, and I thought that was very important. Certainly in my life, it's very important. I thought that the love element between Elizabeth and Calvin, done in the book and in the TV show, is wonderful. They're both geniuses, and they're both a little socially inept, but they offer this really powerful love element, and it's fantastic. As I say, if you're a fan of mid-century aesthetic, Lessons in Chemistry on Apple TV will not disappoint. The art direction is impeccable, from the high-waisted dresses to the charming bungalows that transported me right back to that same era that I grew up in. It's just this visual narrative that complements the storyline, much like Mad Men did for its time, if you remember that TV series. Brie Larson's performance, her portrayal of Elizabeth Zott, is really fantastic, commanding, empathetic. She really holds it together for the whole story. Asia Naomi King as Harriet delivers a really wonderful performance, too, that just makes this story very complex, and I think you'll like that. So the supporting cast is fantastic. The program does tackle gender and race very well. I thought it just did this admirable job of highlighting the gender discrimination of the era, of the time period. It makes it relatable to contemporary issues today. There is this dramatic subplot involving racial injustice, particularly through Harriet's character, played by Asia Naomi King. You'll get that when you watch the show, but it really adds a layer of depth that I think is sometimes missing from period pieces of that same era. The storyline is fantastic. The book really is adapted well with the TV series. There's a lot of unexpected twists that make you just gasp and laugh at the same time, laugh out loud. The side characters like the dog, 630 and Mad, they add this wonderful, quirky charm that complements the entire story. For those of you who appreciate STEM classes, the science, technology, engineering, and math, this book is fantastic in that regard. The TV show does a great job of portraying that too. Bonnie Garmus's writing is sharp, witty, emotional. It's the kind of prose that really makes you laugh out loud one moment and feel the weight of Elizabeth Zott's struggles the next, and the TV program really brings that together very, very nicely. I thought that there's some... I mentioned this motherhood element. You may find that the TV show perpetuates motherhood in a way that might not be exactly on point with kind of our thinking today. It looks at motherhood from in a bygone era, and times have changed. I think that's good and bad, but the way the TV program brings this together, I think is on the plus side. Definitely 2023 feels a lot further away than the 1950s and the 1960s. That could be jarring for some, but I think for my audience, those of us who lived it, will find it to be rewarding and enjoyable. I just think Lessons in Chemistry is a much-watch program. Certainly, it's a must-read book, especially if you're a fan of historical dramas that don't shy away from tackling societal issues. So you should go out and read Lessons in Chemistry and watch the Apple TV Plus adaptation. I think absolutely do this, especially if you're intrigued by this blend of science, history, and social commentary. I think this is perfect for our audience. I think you go in with your eyes open, though, just as you do with all programming. After all, just like in chemistry, the right elements need to come together for a reaction, for everything to be truly groundbreaking. For those of us, though, in the Not Old Better Show audience that maybe are 60 and above, the book, the TV show offers this nostalgic yet critical look, I think, at our past and encourages us to reflect a little bit on how far we've come, but maybe how much further we need to go. So, are you ready to challenge the status quo and make your own mark, just like Elizabeth Zott? Go in, enjoy this. I think you will find it for our audience of those of us who are over age 60. The show offers this fantastic opportunity to look back in a way that's just visually stunning. So please gear up for the premiere on October 13th. Are you ready to take a trip down memory lane that will not only entertain you, I think, but also challenge some of your perspectives? Lessons in Chemistry promises to do just that. You just can't miss this episode. The book is teeming with rich content, and the TV show is wonderful too. So thanks to everybody who helped with this episode. Enjoy the music and enjoy the program on Apple TV Plus. Thanks to my own wonderful Not Old Better Show audience here on radio and podcast. Please be well, be safe, and let's talk about better. The Not Old Better Show radio and podcast series. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Not Old Better Show. To find out more about all of today's stories or to view our extensive back catalog of previous shows, simply visit notoldbetter.com. Join us again next time as we deep dive into some of the most fascinating real-life stories from across the world, all focused on this wonderful experience of getting better, not older. Let's talk better. The Not Old Better Show.